claims its new 400DC-X Island has best-in-class range. So we're going to test her out and see if it's as great as they say. And if so, then with what engines? The company also says this dual console is a world-class fishing platform and entertaining venue, ready for big fish or a sandbar party. So we'll take this boat's measure and find out. Stick with me while I ride this 400 Island. She's got some surprises in store.
For Boat Test, I'm Captain Shelley. Let's get started. The transom area is one of my favorite aspects of the World Cat. One, because of the beam, but also because every World Cat comes with a substantial ladder. Now, I'm an avid diver and I dive off of a World Cat pretty often, and this feature, when you're climbing back on board, still laden with your tanks and all your catch for the day, this makes such a huge difference, and it's nestled between these two Mercury 600 horsepower engines. Now, this is an option. The boat comes standard with 450 Yamahas, but there are several other options for you to choose from as well. We've got almost 12 feet of working space back here. It is 32 inches at its narrowest, and you have 56 inches of space all the way aft to the ladder. And you can see that you can easily access both motors. And you have a freshwater washdown shower back here too. So this is a great platform for getting on and off the water. Moving into the cockpit, you can see more of that beam. This is a very large space, and they have a couple of options for the aft section, but I kind of wanted to look at this seat first. So obviously right now it's in the forward-facing position, but if you come around, pull this little lever right here, it slides all the way back. So you have a great place to sit and watch all the action that's going on out there in the water. In the sole, there are two very large storage compartments for all the fenders, the shore power cords, all that good stuff. On port, you see that there is a boarding gate, very handy. You got your battery switches down below. Over here on starboard, there's a little bit of storage underneath the coaming pad. Nice high gunnels, a couple of rod holders, cup holders in the strategic places. Now let's take a look at what we've got underneath these lids. On the starboard side, they've opted for the summer kitchen. So you lift this up, we've got dedicated storage for cutting boards, paper towels, a couple of cup holders, freshwater sink. Lift up this and we have that Kenyan electric grill. Down below, there's more storage and an extra refrigerator. On the port side, there is an insulated fish box. Can also be used for ice and drinks, and a live well. I like how the underneath side of all of the hatches are nicely finished and they're resin infused. All the way to port, there is a cup holder, rod holder combo. I see one on the other side, and nice sturdy pop-up cleats. Now moving into the main seating area, I'm gonna slide this back into its aft position. And I'm looking around, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 16 possible comfortable seating positions for people in this configuration. Now I know you can actually switch out the summer kitchen and the live wells for additional seating if you wanted to do that, but I kind of like this setup a little bit better. Over to starboard, there is nice little seating, some more cup holders, and there is a USB port for charging. You have a refrigerator down below, so that's your main dedicated refrigerator on board, and there is a large storage compartment underneath. On the port side, we have L-shaped seating, and you can see that we've got one of the 3 tables set up. I like that there are integrated cup holders, and there's kind of a non-slip pad on it. More cup holders both aft and forward, and there's a little cubby space underneath there for all your bits and bobs. And World Cat was telling me that this actually used to be a C-shaped seating configuration, and like the aft seat, this backrest moved forward and aft as well, but it was much lower seating. So when you were underway and wanted to be facing forward, you were basically just staring at the dash. So in the 2025 model, they've lifted it up so that when you're in this seat, and it's a comfy seat, even though you're not the operator, you've still got great visibility up and over the dash, and you can get that breeze. Moving over to the helm, I see that there's a subwoofer down below. Lots of speakers everywhere, so this boat has a great sound system. The helm chair has 2 separate bolsters with the flip-down armrests. I like that it has the raised angled footrest. Your VHF is all the way to starboard. Then you have your digital throttle controls. This does have joystick piloting for outboards. Another nice feature in this area is air conditioning. I see 1 port right here at the helm, and I see 2 more over there at the companion's seat. So if it gets a little too warm while you're out here running, then you can turn that on. And a cool feature about this model and a couple of other WorldCat models is they've actually turned the generator into an option. And standard, the air conditioning, the grill, all of your kind of house items runs off of a big lithium battery bank. So that's a pretty cool feature. I asked WorldCat how long that they think that would last throughout your day, because you know, this is a day boat, you want to have a long, decent amount of time out in the water. And they said, depending on your usage, you're gonna get at least 6 to 8 hours, especially if you put in some time on the motors. All right, back to the helm. So we've got this steering wheel, and in front of that, we have 2 16-inch Garmin displays. In the center is your Mercury display, so you have everything you need right in front of you. I like that they've retained all of the push buttons all the way across the top. You can see that they're on because they're lighted. All in all, I think this is a really aesthetically pleasing helm station. I've got 4 cup holders in the captain's area. And another neat feature that I don't really see on a lot of boats is that the speaker for the VHF is actually up above. I appreciate that they've added an additional satellite speaker up there so that I can keep an ear out. And another great feature in this area is this moonroof. Now I had it shut because it's really warm out today, so I didn't want to be in the sun, but we can open it all the way up, so if we were running, we'd have a decent amount of fresh air coming in. Each console has its own purpose. Beneath the helm is a very large headspace. Now in this headspace, there is 6 foot 4 inches of headroom at its maximum space. We have an electric flush toilet, pedestal sink with storage down below, a couple of other storage areas, and I see another one of those air conditioning vents, so that'll keep this area smelling fresh and a nice place to come down and cool off for a second. You can see there's a large shower space as well with a wand that you can take off and use for the shower. And behind this mirror, you have access to all of your panels for the helm station, and you have all of your DC switches in here as well. So now I'm in the port console. And WorldCat was telling me earlier that they originally had just a static bed in here. So right now I have it in the couch configuration, but actually under where I'm sitting, there is another cushion and kind of a mechanism to have a platform that folds out and turns this into a pretty sizable bed. Maybe not ideal for 2, but in a pinch it could fit. All the way forward, there's storage and a microwave that runs off of that lithium battery. Up above, there's a little natural light coming in, and all the way on the aft bulkhead, I see a fusion stereo, your AC power, and a couple of AC vents, so it'll stay nice and cool in here if you wanted to. Moving all the way forward, there are 29 inches of space in this walkthrough. There is an air dam, so if you want to keep all the elements out, you can. And WorldCat has kind of taken a unique approach to this forward pass-through window. Most boats out there use a hinged kind of door, and that glass ends up sitting and usually bouncing on this other window. So I like that WorldCat has this more of a slider approach. Lock it in when it's all the way over in this position, and it's pretty easy to slide open and go all the way to the bow. Now, this is where everybody's gonna hang out on this boat. It's nice back there under the hardtop because it's a nice big expansive hardtop, but this is where I'm always at if I'm not off the back diving. Now that beam, that 12 foot 8 inches worth of beam translates all the way forward, and you can really see it in this space.
In fact, when comparing the square footage of a 40-foot monohull dual console to the 400DC-X, the WorldCat has about 35% more usable space on deck.
So there's comfortable seating for at least 8 of your guests up here. You can see table number 2, we've got deployed on the port side, and the other one is actually in dedicated storage underneath the seating configuration on starboard. Also nestled in those cubbies with the cup holders, I see power, so you can be charging up here if you want to. Another nice touch that I like from WorldCat is the upholstery that they've got throughout. So they've done a nice job of bringing that diamond stitch texture all the way forward. Love the armrests. And I like that the coaming pads don't come all the way up and that we've got nice stainless steel grab rails nestled down in the gunnels. So it makes seating up in this area safe and comfortable for all your guests. One of the main reasons why I think that this is going to be one of the favorite locations for your guests is, because of the ride of the Catamaran. Now, typically when you're underway, especially if you're in any kind of larger sea state, then the bow is kind of an uncomfortable spot to be. But in a catamaran, because you're funneling that air and that water through the center of the hull, essentially that air at speed becomes a bit of an air cushion. So the ride for your guests in the bow of the boat is going to be a completely different experience than they would have on a traditional monohull. Another thing that I note when we're cruising around in the catamaran is the difference in turning. So when you're at speed and you make a significant bank, your guests that are sitting up here are definitely going to lean hard over. But in a catamaran, it's so much less. It more feels like you're turning a car, and then the boat stays on the same plane as you come around versus a monohull that tends to keel over. But when you're done running and you get to a beautiful location like we're at now and it's time to set the anchor, you have easy access to that. So let's go check that out next. On the port side, you have storage, and the electric windlass controls are in here. Tricky to find, but here they are. And when we go center line, you can see the anchor chain. And what's smart about what WorldCat has done is that the anchor, obviously you want it to be center line, but it comes in and then takes a direct 90-degree turn to starboard, and you have your windlass in the starboard compartment. So this is a smart design because there's ample space below the windlass for the chain to drop and we can avoid tangles. But there's also space for fenders and lines in this area. Now, another thing I wanted to point out, like I said, it's been a hot day, so we've been very thankful for this expansive hardtop. As you can see, it goes from side to side, and there's an optional shore shade that can be added here to cover this entire back area in shade as well. And if you keep an eye out, you might see a dolphin out there. We followed him in here.
The WorldCat 400DC-X has a length overall of 39 feet 8 inches, a beam of 12 feet 8 inches, and an empty weight of 16,500 pounds. Our test boat was equipped with the dual 600 horsepower Mercury V12s, and with them wound up to 6,150 RPM, our test boat saw a wide open throttle speed of 54 miles per hour. The best cruise came at 28 miles per hour and 3,500 RPM. At that speed, the 29.3 gallon per hour fuel burn translated to 0.9 miles per gallon and a range of 395 statute miles, all while holding back that 10% reserve of the boat's 464 gallon fuel capacity. The 400DC-X planed out right around 3,000 RPM and 12 to 14 miles per hour. She reached 10 miles per hour in 3.5 seconds, 20 miles per hour in 5.5, 30 in 8, and we hit 40 miles per hour in right around 10 seconds. With all the data crunched, the comparisons were clear. When pitted against a monohull of the same size and weight, Also supporting the Merc 600s, the 400DC-X stretched its fuel further, a remarkable 32% further. Additionally, evaluating the optional engine configurations on the same hull, the standard twin Yamaha 450 V8 XTOs showed an approximate 30% improvement in range over the Mercury setup. So for the WorldCat buyer, the choice will boil down to prioritizing top-end speed or the freedom of an expanded horizon.
Another thing that I noticed while we're out here, we're in about a 1 to 2 foot chop, but over here on the Gulf side, with the winds the way they are, those waves are basically just kind of right on top of each other. And so we are getting bounced around a little bit, but I mean, you really can't tell because of the beam of this boat. We're so wide, it's such a stable platform in the water. She hops up on plane with those 600s. It feels like almost immediately, and it's like a split second that she just pops right up out of the water. So that was really fun to experience. She turns really well. I was a little bit apprehensive in the beginning because honestly, I dive off of a WorldCat quite often, but I rarely get to drive it. The owner of that particular boat is a little stingy with with the driving. So I was a little hesitant in the turns to begin with, but as I started making bigger, faster, sharper turns, I got more confident. And I tell you, they told me that those engines were going to bite with the dual holes in the water, and you can really feel it as you really start to hook around. You can feel, especially that inward hull really bite into the water. I kept an eye on our speed as we were coming around. I mean, maybe a half a knot as I made those bigger, sharper turns. So she doesn't really bleed off speed in those turns. And one of the things that I talked about before, and I'll say it again, is that this boat, because it's the Catamaran, you really don't get that serious heel when you make those sharper turns. And when you're cruising around like this, if you have a whole bunch of people, if there's a dolphin or something to look at on that side, everybody moves over there. A monohull, the whole boat is going to tip. In a Catamaran, it's just going to stay nice and stable. So, there are a lot of things to love about a Catamaran, and WorldCat has done a pretty good job putting it all together. So that's been my full performance review and features inspection of the WorldCat 400DC-X Island. It's been a really great day out on the water. I'm Captain Shelley for BoatTest, and don't forget, life is always better on a boat.